brainstorming ideas, right? And throwing names around, and Danny hit me with Clone Cops, right?
I mean, that's kind of there was a production company here in Nashville that was offering if you could make a movie for less than $10,000, then they would back it. And so I was trying to come up with concepts that we could do for less than $10,000. And a buddy of mine said you should make a movie called Clone Cops.
For the record, Danny's way, way older than I am. I'm only 44, so a lot of times I don't
Way
understand the old
older.
man stuff he's talking about. Something's going to happen. If you're the kind of producer or director that flips out and turns that into a bad vibe situation, then it's going to show up on the screen. People feel that tension, and that's why people love that they're going to get into TV and film, and then a few years later get out of it because there's so many toxic workplaces and sets where like the guy running the show is a hard ass and you're going to get shouted at. And like, dude, our people loved coming to work. We loved coming to work every day. And we had people that have worked in the industry for years that were like, that's the best experience I've ever had on a set. And that's what you want to hear. When you're making movies, man, watch a movie at all.
Yeah.
That's it. Fewer movies are being viewed every year. It's a really strange time to be doing what we're doing, Abby, because we all grew up watching movies, but my kids watch one movie a month or two movies a month, not one or two a week, maybe like I did, and make it break through, I think. But exactly as Danny said, that idea that you just make the thing and then you're done. I mean, the reality is it's so much harder to make money with a movie today than it was 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Each one of those increments had a different way to monetize that now does not work.
The common wisdom was put a name in your movie, and people will come up see it. And you don't bother making a movie if it doesn't have a A-list actor in it, kind of. And I think we've seen that kind of standard has gone away as well. I mean, I don't mean to like um, denigrate anybody or anything like that. I think when you look at it from a money making like standpoint, that's how the general population are. They're not super interested. Everybody says like, oh, they don't make new movies anymore. All they do is remakes. Well, that's because people vote with their dollars.
If you say, yeah, I support indie film, man. Cool. Are you watching indie films? What's the last new indie film you watched? And then maybe hopped online and wrote a review for, or we're incredibly accessible, at this stage of our careers. And every single letterbox review I read, some of them I reply to, like it's still really meaningful for indie filmmakers to get that feedback in the real world. So I think for all of us, myself included, when I say, yeah, I support indie films, I try to get out there and actually, put some action behind that.
And it was almost $50 for one person to go buy snacks and see a movie. And like and this is Nashville. I mean, it's not New York or LA. It's like that. I can't imagine taking a family to go see a movie, and like taking
Don't do
four.
it. It will
So
break
like,
you.
yeah, man, it's crazy expensive. And like we kind of already touched on this, but this idea too of like paying for entertainment now, I think has kind of become alien. I mean, I think that makes it sound dirty. That makes it sound like that it doesn't fit within your film or that it's somehow detracting from your film or the artistry of it. And I think you can do both. I think the kind of general rule of thumb I use when I'm writing is if I'm bored writing it, they're going to be bored reading it, and they're really going to be bored watching it. So if it's not fun to write, stop and reconsider what you're doing. So,
Yeah, my name is Phillip Cordell, and I got to write this thing with my best friend Danny here, also on the call. And then I'm in the movie. It's called Clone Cops, and I got to play all the clone cops. So we figured if we run out of money, which is probably a frequent topic of discussion on this podcast, that we could just go back and finish it, just he and I with the camera and me running around as the clone cop. But yeah, man, it's been a phenomenal ride. We shot it in 2022, did the festival scene, got distribution, and now it's free and streaming on Tubi, Amazon Prime, and probably any pirate site you go to. But we would appreciate it if you streamed it on Tubi for us. Thank you. Yeah.
yeah,
Danny?
I'm Danny Dones. I'm the co-writer and director of Clone.
Hey everyone, this is Abhi from No-Budget Filmmaking Podcast, and here with me is the team from the Clone Cops movie, Philip and Danny. Hi, how are you guys?
Doing well. How you doing?
Doing good. Uh,
Good.
s- for the audience, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the movie?
Go ahead,
Sure.
Phil.
Yeah, my name is Philip Cordell, and I got to write this thing with my best friend Danny here, also on the call. And then I'm in the movie. It's called Clone Cops, and I got to play all the clone cops because we figured if we run out of money, which is probably a frequent topic of discussion on this podcast, that we could just go back and finish it just he and I with the camera and me running around as the clone cop. But yeah, man, it's been a phenomenal ride. We shot it in 2022, did the festival scene, got distribution, and now it's free and streaming on Tubi, Amazon Prime, and probably any pirate site you go to. But we would appreciate it if you streamed it on Tubi for us. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Danny?
I'm Danny Dones. I'm the co-writer and director of Clone Cops. Yeah, like Phil said, he and I worked on this together for a long time and managed to pull everything together and make it happen. Clone Cops is it's a sci-fi comedy. It's about a gang of criminals that have to protect their hideout from a replicating police force known as the Clone Cops. The more clones they kill, the more they make. The more they make, the dumber they get. And that's kind of the movie. It's just kind of a fun, campy sci-fi ride. It's got a little bit of heart to it. It's got a message buried deep down under all the fart jokes, but it's there.
Okay. How did you get the idea for the movie?
Well, we were
Uh,
brainstorming ideas, right? And throwing names around, and Danny hit me with Clone Cops, right?
I mean, that's kind of there was a production company here in Nashville that was offering if you could make a movie for less than $10,000, then they would back it. And so I was trying to come up with concepts that we could do for less than $10,000. And a buddy of mine said you should make a movie called Clone Cops. And I just kind of loved the idea of like a replicating police force. It's if you've ever seen the movie Multiplicity with Michael Keaton, there it's kind of borrows from that where that movie's about cloning and the clones start cloning themselves and they get real dumb. It's like making a copy of a copy. These are all very dated references. I'm 45 years old, so most people probably aren't going to understand what I'm
Dang,
talking
he's old.
but uh but yeah, man, that it all kind of sprang from the name and this idea of replicating police, and we just built a story around that, and we knew we wanted it to be kind of wild and irreverent and carry a lot of the references and flavors that we grew up with, like Aqua Teen Hunger Force and all those Adult Swim shows, stuff like that.
For the record, Danny's way, way older than I am. I'm only 44, so a
Yeah.
lot of times I don't
Way
understand the old
older.
man stuff he's talking about.
Yeah. I thought you were a teenager.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Hey,
can see that you guys have so much fun making that movie because you're close friends and everything, but you all with indie scene, you always run into some problems and you always find a creative solution for that. Would you like to share some stories about that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we set out. We did have a great time making the movie, and we set out. I've worked in film production for almost 20 years. I've worked on some great sets. I've worked on some really challenging sets. So when it came time to make our movie, I just really prioritized wanting the set to be positive and just we're making movies that should be fun, you know. And so we worked really hard to maintain positivity on set and treat everybody with respect and give everybody time to do their jobs and value what they do. So that went a long way, and I think we did it. I think everybody had a good time. But yes, you're right. There are always going to be challenges no matter what you do. I mean, it's a low budget sci-fi movie. You know, like we had no business it, making that movie for the amount of money that we made it for. It was far and away more just we could have spent $10 million on that movie, and I still would have felt like, oh, there's more we could have done. But I think it all just kind of turned into uh, for instance, set design stuff, like we just didn't have the money to build these huge, big like lab sets. So we used what was there. We had a location that was it used to be an old mental hospital, and we were able to like pull from that location, and we found bits and pieces of like medical equipment and just various set dressing pieces we were able to kind of bring together to create the lab, for instance. A lot of that stuff in the lab was stuff we just found in the building and pulled in together and built stuff on top of it and stuck lights on it. And I think when you watch the movie, you kind of
It's
start
a
to see
tra-
that
it's a
when
reclamation
you're
pod now. Look, we put a light on it.
yeah, you're gonna watch the movie, right? When you watch the movie, it's like, well, I kind of think that the idea is like in the future, everything is like set up so that anybody could do it. So it's all kind of dumbed down. So it kind of works. Like we've got these really like silly, like simple control panels and stuff. And it's like, yeah, because everybody's kind of stupid in the future. And so it's one button to do everything.
Yeah, I would say I got two good stories about things that didn't go as we planned. First one, you got the very first day of shooting. There's all that day one energy. Everybody's excited, hyped up, and they bring the Vespa scooter that our clone cop rides in on day one. And I've driven many, many scooters, Abby. I'm very comfortable at the beach on a scooter going low speed, and they bring this beautiful, pristine, vintage Vespa scooter all the way from Italy. So like it's a fancy kind of old school thing. And he's like, "You know how to drive this?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, of course." And I promptly get on it after he leaves, the guy who delivered the vehicle, and just drive it straight into this wall. And it's dragging my hand along the wall, and everybody's freaking out. And that was before we'd shot a single thing on the first day. And Danny runs up, he thinks my hand's broken. Um, and I just shake, I'm like frantically, "No, let me get back on it." I'm all worked up and spun up. And he's like, "Just take a beat, man." And then I walk around and everybody's just like, "Holy cow, are you all right, dude?" "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine." So that was the very first thing on the first morning of shooting the movie. And there's always going to be something like that happens. So it felt good to get it out of the way up front. And then the second thing, which Danny didn't even know because myself and the rest of our production team did such a good job handling it. If you watch the movie, you'll see these giant sauce tanks, and the sauce is what they make the clone cops out of. These reclamation sauce tanks, and they're 55-gallon drums. And we had one, and it had a hole in it. And the production designer asked me, like, "Dude, it's leaking. Should I try to stop it here or take it out?" And I was like, "Just get it out of here." That's the wrong call. I made the wrong call, Bobby. And it flooded this whole lab environment that we had built out. So we're supposed to shoot in there in like an hour, and now we've got an inch of water on the whole floor. And thankfully, we were in an abandoned mental hospital, and there were all these old beds, these creepy old beds, which we just unzipped the liners on, and it's this giant sponge. That's what the beds were. So we had these like comically oversized sponges going in, soaking up all this water off the floor that we just flooded our set with. And it came off without a hitch, and we just kind of kept on rocking. And yeah, as you said, man, low budget indie film, stuff's gonna happen. And
And
then yeah,
the floors looked great when we got in there. They
thanks.
were very
Thanks.
clean.
Yeah, we put some elbow grease into it. But it's how you handle those things. Like, dude, as you said, something's gonna happen. If you're the kind of producer or director that flips out and turns that into a bad vibe situation, then it's gonna show up on the screen. People feel that tension, and that's why people love that they're gonna get into TV and film, and then a few years later get out of it because there's so many toxic workplaces and sets where like the guy running the show is a hard ass and you're gonna get shouted at. And like, dude, our people loved coming to work. We loved coming to work every day. And we had people that have worked in the industry for years that were like, "That's the best experience I've ever had on a set." And that's what you want to hear. When you're making movies, man.
Sorry, my
No problem.
roommates. Yeah, so what I
Hey,
was
tell them to go watch Clone Cops, bro. Right now. Say, "Hey, y'all should go watch Clone Cops." Just turn it on. You don't even have to watch it. Let it stream. Let those minutes build up for us. Okay.
okay. Yeah,
Cool.
you know
Thanks.
what? I'm gonna go. After this podcast, I'm gonna go outside. I'm just gonna put it on Tubi on my TV on mute and you'll get that views, okay?
My
Anything to
man.
support our brothers, you know what
Yep.
I mean?
then
Disney loves that.
hop on Letterbox and just say best
Yes.
movie I've ever seen, period. You don't even, that's it.
Yeah.
Why
No.
waste time writing a whole
Yeah.
thing?
Or watching the movie.
Yeah.
Man, that's
Yeah.
cool though. That's something that we like kind of figured out on Clone Cops was like, oh, a good stunt coordinator is super helpful at like I always knew, I mean, I knew that we wanted to have one for our big stunt days, but the thing that I honestly I didn't know was like, oh, when they come in, like they kind of help you direct the scene. Like they tell you where to put the camera and set everything up and make it look great and add a lot of action, a lot of dynamic movement to everything. I That is not my wheelhouse. Like you can definitely tell the scenes that I did the stunt coordination and the scenes where we had our stunt coordinator on set.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Because
just take the gun from her.
Just do it. Just look, just act. Can you just act?
yeah, the thing is that I wanted to more ask you first about like the experience in Nashville because was it easier because you were in Nashville? Was it somehow a little bit tougher because you were in Nashville?
Danny's
I
a
don't
pro,
think
so he made it easier, right?
I've worked in Nashville in film and TV here for a long time, and I had a great network of people already built up that I knew I could reach out to and get help from. Like we talked about earlier, I knew I wanted to make sure we could pay as many people as much as we could. We were still very low budget. We weren't able to pay like full union rates or anything like that. But we made a commitment to get everybody home in 10 hours every day, and we did that almost every day. There were a couple days where we did have to shoot a 12-hour day, but I felt good that we were able to get people home at tens most of the time. We had a 3-week shooting schedule, so we moved along a pretty good clip, and we just made sure we pre-planned everything and got everything that we needed every day. But um, I think Nashville was great for us. We knew so many great actors here. There's a big talent pool here. So we were able to find some of the best actors in town and get them to come work with us. And now they're friends. And now we get to hang with them and they work on a project with us all the time now. So it was very much like a community-based film that drew a lot from the film community here.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can be and so you can be like a bedroom musician and just do it all yourself and put out something that's really fire. But like for making this kind of thing, I know it's daunting if you're introverted by nature, which a lot of artists are, but like you got to have people. It takes bodies to do all the things. You need a talented sound mixer, or else it's going to sound like garbage. And then what's the point? You need a talented DP. And so, it really is all about making contacts, building a community, which I know I didn't want to hear because I didn't have that community. It's grown up around me as I've done the deal over the past 5 years. And thankfully, again, with Danny being a pro in the field, that helped tremendously. But there's really no substitute for building a team, and you work for free or for a discount on their stuff, and they do the same for you. And then before you know it, a year later, you've got 3 short films made. Or I mean, you guys have all been working together. So it really is about as simple as hopping on Instagram or Facebook or somewhere, Discord, and just being like, "Hey, I'm trying to make some stuff, looking for like-minded individuals," and finding people that are at the same level. You're not going to get Roger Deakins or whatever, some super famous cinematographer to come shoot your indie film, but you might get a really talented dude who's just starting that usually just does photographs and wants to get into video. Who's exactly where you're at, and then you guys will kind of rise together over the years.
I think
Yes. Yeah.
Phil and I kind of, I mean, we had met before, but we became friends doing 48-hour film festival stuff. So like those are great ways to build a crew and get a group of people together.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I didn't hear what Danny said.
Oh, sorry, I'll repeat it.
Uh,
Phil, I think
Phil.
you got some
Is it loud
background
here?
noise.
Yes,
Sorry. I'm at
apologies.
I'm at at the park. I'm at a park.
Yeah, apologies. Okay.
I said Phil and I came up doing 48-hour film festivals together. And so to me, that was a great way to make a bunch of connections, meet a bunch of people that are passionate about it, and you can kind of start building from there.
Yeah, that's a good. So I would say it's a community that everyone knows there. And the next part about the indie scene is that now you have to sell it. You made it, you loved it, now you have to sell it. And for right now, what I'm seeing, it's really tough to sell your movie, even to streaming at this point. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think that the traditional route of success for an independent film, which I think we all kind of still think is the way it goes, is you make your movie, you take it to film festivals or you take it to a film market, you find a distributor there, and then the distribute once you have your distribution, you're set, and they put it out, and whether it's successful or not depends on the quality of your film, and that's just not the case anymore. It really isn't. The quality of the film, is super important, of course, but there are great films out there that are still struggling to make money, even with distribution, because the way people watch movies has changed, and that's just the truth of it. I think we all have to kind of get behind that and understand that theatrical is really not where people go to see movies anymore. I love going to the movie theater. I love it, absolutely. And I still go all the time. I support the Belcourt, which is our independent theater here in Nashville. I go there to see lots of great films. But I think the average moviegoer is just as comfortable watching a movie at home.
If they watch a movie at all.
Yeah.
That's it. Fewer movies are being viewed every year. It's a really strange time to be doing what we're doing, Abby, because we all grew up watching movies, but my kids watch one movie a month or two movies a month, not one or two a week, maybe like I did. And so this is not a doomsday thing. It's just I think we were probably a little bit, I know I was personally a little bitter about it in the beginning of our distribution journey because I'm like, man, been waiting my whole life to make a movie, make something I'm really proud of. Movies are out, no one cares. and and I think what I found is like, no, you just got to push it, just kind of keep pushing harder and harder, um, and make it break through. I think, but exactly as Danny said, that idea that you just make the thing and then you're done. I mean, the reality is it's so much harder to make money with a movie today than it was 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Each one of those increments had a different way to monetize that now does not work. You know, 5 years ago, Tubi was paying huge payouts, as the premier AVOD platform. And 10 years ago, you were still selling DVDs, and 15 years ago, you're selling a lot of DVDs. And then you get into VHS and theatrical windows and all these things. And now our distributor was very frank with us on the front end and said, we view theatrical as a loss leader. Like, by all means, you guys keep those rights. If you guys want to run a theatrical campaign, that'd be dope. That's going to help our TVOD. But we don't think you're going to make any money on it. And we didn't, and we maybe barely almost broke even, but not really if you count. Here's the thing. We did a really rad once in a lifetime thing where we screened it in 10 different cities all over the country. And we went to all 10 of them, which was such a fun experience, but also cost money, you know, that we had to come out of pocket for. So yeah, man, it's just real hard to make money with a movie right now. And that's true for us as a small indie film that did some niche genre festivals, but it's also true for some friends. Yep, for some friends that yeah, sounds good. That have had historically awesome festival runs and are still struggling to recoup their budgets. I mean, it's not. I thought that it was just us little guys, and then Danny was like, "I don't think so, man. I think even a good festival run these days it doesn't guarantee anything." And it's like, no, I think it still does. And then we found some folks who said, "Yep, it does not anymore." And it's not just like, who do you blame? It's not the distributor's fault. They're not making any money either. The art form, just like on the music side, the monetization has been driven so low. We were itching to get on to AVOD on the Tubi and Amazon Prime because our film was being pirated. Great news. People want to see our movie. That's awesome. But the reality is people don't want to pay for movies anymore. So what do you do? I guess you have to put it where they can see it for free and hope that you make that ad revenue. When we say AVOD, we're talking advertising, video on demand, like Tubi and Amazon Prime.
Well, I think to kind of add to that too, uh, the process of making films has never been more accessible. The equipment's never been cheaper, smaller, lighter, easier to use. Uh, the bad news is the entry point has never been more accessible. Anybody can make a movie. You can just pick it up and go, which is great and awesome, and is going to lead to some really cool art and some really fun movies. But it also floods the market with a bunch of product, and it's just hard to stand out when everybody's got a feature film to sell.
Uh, In my experience, like you guys are absolutely right. People are not watching a lot of movies and everything, but the they're really selective, and now it's like winner takes all, if that makes sense. The top 10 movies will contribute to like 90 to 80% of the business earned. And there's less than 20 to 10% for the rest of the 100 movies that have been put out this year or last year or whatever. So that does affect the market a lot because it's not a business anymore. Now it's just I don't know what it is. It's a lottery machine or whatever that you just put in money and just hope for the best that it will work.
Well, and there used to be the common wisdom was put a name in your movie, and people will come up see it. And you don't bother making a movie if it doesn't have a A-list actor in it, kind of. And I think we've seen that kind of standard has gone away as well. There are plenty of A-list actors that are now their movies are flopping and people aren't coming out to see them, and it's not the quality of the film. They're great movies that just aren't turning people out to theaters. So I think, yeah, I think we're just seeing a huge paradigm shift in the filmmaking industry, and nobody really knows what's next. Nobody really knows what the answer is, and that's the thing that we heard over and over and over again as we were going through the distribution process is nobody knows. It's everybody is trying to figure out how to make money off of this stuff, and it's just kind of the Wild West again.
Yeah. So what do you think after you guys still promoted as I can see your movie after you sold it to Tubi? First of all, I really want to know what's your experience when you premiered the movie? Was it a premiere or was it just like you showed movies in 10 different cities at the same time or what was it?
Yeah, great question. So we had one world premiere, and we did that at a film festival in Indianapolis, the Gen Con Film Festival. Gen Con is, of course, North America's largest tabletop gaming convention. So if you play D&D or any tabletop card games, Magic the Gathering, there's over 75,000 like-minded individuals. They're leaving. Okay. I don't
He
know how
means
much of that.
he means nerds. That's when he says like-minded individuals, he means
Yeah.
nerd.
I mean, nerds.
I'm,
Nerd,
I'm I have D&D books on the shelf. I'm a nerd too.
Yeah, nerds like us. So we were real deliberate with where we world premiered the film, and then each city was its own premiere. But really, it's just an event screening, and the reality is, you want to shout it from the mountaintops. Hey guys, we're showing our movie at your local theater, and 99% of the population is like, okay, you really have to find your nerds. And I'm so grateful that we made the film that we did because we were able to find a very specific demographic um, that loves to talk to us and ask us questions about the movie and stuff. And it's awesome. Yeah, and you did say that when we sold our movie to Tubi, and I did just want to clarify, like just about like 99% of the movies that you see on Tubi, it's just licensed to them. So it doesn't cost Tubi anything. If they want, they can buy a film. But it's more likely these days, apparently, that they will put up the budget, make the film. Tubi is now seeding low budget fun filmmakers like ourselves and will give you, one, two, 300 grand to make your movie, and then they own it outright. Whereas most of the films, though, that you do see on there are licensed there through a third party, whether that's Film Hub or a distributor. And so, yeah, like Tubi didn't give us any money up front to put our movie there. It's just the revenue sharing platform, right? Where like it's there. If people watch it, then the corporations who are spending the ad dollars to show ads in between our film, that money is what comes to us, pennies per hour or whatever. You really need And dude, I think you probably came across us on Instagram or something, right? Because you're right, we've been promoting the heck out of our film, and you really need your movie to kind of go viral in the same way that a piece of content goes viral these days. There are algorithms, on Tubi and Amazon Prime that if a movie is retaining viewers on the platform, just like a social media company, then it will feed that film to more and more people. So anyway, sorry, sidetrack there. As we were taking our movie around, no, we just had one big kind of world premiere, and we pulled out all the stops. We took a bunch of cast members up to this film fest in Indy, and had a pretty packed room, and it was a really cool experience. And then all the other ones we just called event screenings, and we sold tickets. Sometimes it was a ticket share with the theater. So yeah, 60-40 split or 50-50 split. And other times we had to four wall the theater. Maybe you've heard that term, where you basically rent the theater and then you sell your own tickets.
Yeah, and I think uh, you know, to that point, nobody cares about your movie as much as you do. So like if you're not marketing your own film, then what are you doing? Like you have to market your own movie. You have to be the one out there leading the charge on getting it in front of people and putting it on social media. I'm not a social media guy. It's not my favorite thing in the world. Luckily, Phil's great at it, and he makes so much content and just keeps pushing us forward. And I think it's all part of having a good team. That's everybody has their own things that they can do. Right now, our director of photography, Corey Allen, he's working on a video game, Clone Cops video game that we're going to be putting out hopefully pretty soon. And so, it's just you have to do the work. You have to be the one pushing forward because, like I said, just nobody's going to care as much as you do.
Yeah, I think we already talked about it, but marketing your own film and selling your own film, well, marketing to be exact, is a different kind of, it's a different animal than anything else. And most of us, well, I'm talking about myself. I don't know how to market myself or market my movie that I made. And it's a different skill to learn. And what was your experience with that?
You're right. It is a different skill, and there you break down content. I mean, we do now, like why something works, and then you figure out hook structure. I mean, there's the tools are there. The knowledge on how to do it is easily available, and now it's just a matter of, okay, well, who's going to put in the time doing something that, at least for me initially, was very soul crushing. Right? I made a movie. I want to be a movie star. I'm not trying to dance on TikTok for views. Uh, but we do what we got to do. And I think I've found a nice lane, at least for myself, where I'm making more stuff that I'm proud of, and that, I mean, if it's a funny, if I'm making people laugh, I'm still scratching that itch of wanting to be a performer, and putting myself out there in ways that might be uncomfortable. But the kind of the promise we all made to each other is like, well, we'll do anything that we need to do to move the movie forward. And that's to Danny's point about having a team that you trust. I mean, that's, we all kind of play our roles and know what we're good at. And like, we're all committed to making this thing be a success, especially, the dream is, oh, we made the movie in October of 2022. By summer of 23, we're going to be shooting $1 million film. We're going to get that call, right? We were living in the lottery ticket mindset where we're going to get the call. Hey, it's Mr. Netflix. It's Sorrento's. It's whoever. We loved your film. Could you do it? Can we make another? But instead of a small budget, here's $5 million. And dude, I mean, every morning I wake up and check my calls, and I haven't gotten the call yet.
Yeah, I think now that Warner
Merger?
Bros. Deal that fell through, I think the call is coming. I think
Yeah.
he's hungry.
Yeah, he hungry. He want that clone car. But dude, I mean, as Danny mentioned, we're making an app, a kind of a horde style mobile app game. Because again, dude, the luckiest thing that we did was this little helmet for Clone Cops. We made kind of some in-world iconography that we've been writing ever since. And I think, if we had made a serious kind of dramedy or a, grounded sci-fi with a twist or something, I don't know how we would have marketed it. So we really lucked out making the movie we did, because we were like, if this is the only one we make, we want to make something wild and make it stand out and be able to market it. And that's what we did.
One thing I wanted to ask was more innovation that you guys did when you were filming this thing. Apart from obviously you guys had fun and you guys find locations, but for the young folks that are listening to us and they're like, "Oh my God, they made a movie under 10,000. How can I do that?" And that's the whole point of this podcast, by the way, to
Oh, we
teach
didn't know
people.
that. It
Oh,
was
so
not under
how?
10,000.
Oh,
Or that was the initial pitch was that, but that's not what we ended up doing. No.
oh,
The
fudge.
No, I'm sorry. No, the our budget was much higher than that. Not
It was
much
still
higher.
a SAG ultra low budget. It was a SAG production though, and we footed the bill. We put all the money in ourselves, which is probably why we haven't stopped marketing it. If it was somebody else's money, it's a lot easier to cut your losses and move on. And when it's your thing, it's like, oh, I really gotta make sure we are doing all we can do to get this money back.
What about your what about your plans forward? Not just about the Clone Cop or any new projects that that you have in mind or you're working towards.
Yeah, right now I'm working on a script for another feature film. Right, I'm in the middle of shooting season 2 of Scarpetta for Amazon right now. So when we wrap that up this fall, my hope is that we'll be able to pull together funding and shoot another feature. That's my immediate plan.
For those who don't know what Scarpetta is, who's in that?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Blumhouse and Amazon are doing a show together with Jamie Lee Curtis and uh oh, shoot, help me out, Phil. We were just talking about it. Nicole Kidman. Nicole
Nicole
Kidman and
Kidman.
Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's the deal. Like Danny is like working in the real deal stuff, and all of us are just kind of tangentially, in the indie film world, trying to break into it. And on many levels, Danny's already there working with these giant stars, but in a very what crew capacity, as a prop master, assistant prop master. I mean, like,
Assistant prime minister, yeah.
yeah. So he's like getting his hands dirty in the scene, right? He's got a steady industry gig, which is super cool for somebody like me from the outside looking in. And then I talked to him about it, and I think sometimes it's cool, and sometimes maybe it's not as fun as I would think it would be, right?
Well, I mean, you have a family, and you get to see them and tuck your kids in at night. I work 12-hour days when I'm lucky. So it's definitely it's a cool job. I love it, but it's definitely um, a lifestyle for sure.
Yeah. And so as Danny mentioned, he's working on a script. We've got a few ideas. We got a handful of ideas. We are so incredibly ready for some general meetings to pitch some of our ideas. So if anybody out there is looking for great ideas, the issue is that these days the ideas are no longer like the constraint, right? Everybody's got a bunch of ideas. We don't, Danny and I don't use AI in our writing process, but I'm positive a ton of people do now, right? So like it's never been easier to pull together an outline or a pitch doc or a first draft of a script or something, right? So I think as we look into the future, it's really going to be less of, hey, who can I tell these ideas to that's going to give me a bunch of money and make it, and more like the people that win are the ones that make the thing and then build an audience for it. And that's why we've been so dead set on keeping Clone Cops going and, not picturing it as an industry I'm trying to break into as much as a business that I'm trying to build up and sell. We want to build this IP, build this world, and then sell it to a legitimate larger platform, of which there are enough. So many family members and friends are like, oh yeah, there's so many streaming platforms. It's probably gonna be easy to sell a movie now, right? It's like, yeah, I see you, right. I see you nodding your head. There's not. There were, and there was a brief period of time where, yeah, it was probably easier to sell a thing, but that's not the case anymore, man. Not just because of consolidation, but because they're all doing their, manufacturing their own content now. And again, the price for licensing has been driven down. We were told specifically, if you do get on Netflix through a distributor, that might look like 20 grand for 3 or 6 or 9 months. It's not like, hey, here's which is a decent chunk of money, but it's not like, hey, you're rich and set for life if you get on Netflix or anything, you know?
Well, and I think also the film industry is very adverse to original ideas. That's not me being like "Rrr," like old man yelling at cloud. That's just the truth. If it's not a remake or you can't easily compare it to some other film that's already existing and it is a known moneymaker, then nobody's going to give you money to make that movie. So really, independent film and self-financed film is the bastion of independent film, or I'm sorry, of creative like original film. That's if you have an original idea, one that you just is burning a hole in your brain and you really have to make it, you kind of don't want a studio to be involved because they're going to try to homogenize that as much as they can and make it as similar to a known IP. So yeah, I
But on
mean,
the
I think
upside, they might have money, and that's a good thing, right?
the money is a good thing. You want the money, and then you want them to, I don't know, go on vacation and let you make your movie. It's I don't mean to like um, denigrate anybody or anything like that. I think when you look at it from a money making like standpoint, that's how the general population are. They're not super interested. Everybody says like, oh, they don't make new movies anymore. All they do is remakes. Well, that's because people vote with their dollars and people go, they spend money on remakes. They want to see things that they're familiar with. They want to see stories that they kind of already know. They want to, I'm guilty of it too. I rewatch The Office all the time. Sometimes I feel like there's an alarm that goes off in my therapist's office when the office theme song plays because she knows it means I'm depressed. Like I watch it over and over and over again, and like it's comforting. It's comforting to watch stuff that you already know and that you're familiar with. So I think it is a perfectly natural part of human life. But yeah, I mean, I think at the same time, I love new stuff. I love new ideas and creative films, and I want to be surprised when I go see a movie. The worst thing that can happen to me is sitting in a movie theater and knowing the next line of dialogue. Uh, because like I shouldn't be able to tell you what they're gonna say next, but a lot of times you can.
Yeah, and there is a distance between what people say they want and what they actually want sometimes. I mean, I think I want these aspirational things. Our movie dropped around the same time as a handful of other original movies, Novocaine, Companion, Mickey 22, and they all tanked, by the standards, in terms of their budget plus the marketing put into them. None of them made money, and so that was kind of the story at that point a year ago. Was like, you guys say you want original sci-fi ideas, but then we put some out, nobody goes to see them. Uh, and I think that, yeah, people, the studios, the people that are backing the films are voting with their dollars, and that's why we get a bunch of the same stuff. And again, it's not because we're bad. It's exactly as Danny said. I kind of I like what I like, and I just want more of that. And so, if I like Van Helsing movies, then great. Maybe a Van Helsing script's going to get more traction than generic vampires. But it really is that, like, you can. I mean, and as a filmmaker, I feel this where it's like, I can say that I want to be a filmmaker, right? Like, I want to make movies, man. And it's like, cool, what'd you do yesterday? Tell me what you did, and I'll tell you what your priorities actually are, right? It's not what I think it is, it's what I do. And so if I'm not out there shooting stuff or writing and making stuff, but say I want to be a filmmaker, well, I probably need to look deep inside and get honest about what my priorities actually are. And I think that works, it's the same way on the film stuff. If you say, yeah, I support indie film, man, cool. Are you watching indie films? What's the last new indie film you watched? And then maybe hopped online and wrote a review for, or we're incredibly accessible, at this stage of our careers. And every single letterboxd review I read, some of them I reply to, like, it's still really meaningful for indie filmmakers to get that feedback in the real world. So I think for all of us, myself included, when I say, yeah, I support indie films, I try to get out there and actually, put some action behind that.
Yeah, and also, I would say the world is so chaotic right now. I don't want to go all philosophical, but the world is so chaotic right now. So I think we all crave some like stability, and like we don't want to go into something blind. And also, it's expensive to go to movies. It's
It,
expensive.
it really is. Like, I mean, it's such a trope. It's such a like everybody says that, but man, I went by myself recently to see a movie in the theater, and I was like, I bought a small popcorn, a drink, and a little thing of M&Ms, and it was almost $50 for one person to go buy snacks and see a movie. And like and this is Nashville. I mean, it's not New York or LA. It's like that. I I can't imagine taking a family to go see a movie, and like taking
Don't
four.
do it. It will
So
break
like,
you.
yeah, man, it's crazy expensive. And like we kind of already touched on this, but this idea too of like paying for entertainment now, I think has kind of become alien. I think it's just yeah, you pay for your Netflix, but it's auto drafted out of your bank account. You're not writing a check to Netflix every week. So like it's invisible. You don't really think about spending money on it. So the idea of like putting money down to see a movie is kind of weird now because I get movies for free. What do you mean pay to see a movie? There's a box in my house that shows me movies nonstop for free. Why would I pay for one?
Yeah, that's kind of the value proposition I think most indie filmmakers have to be able to make now is this is what I'm telling the world as Clone Cops. There's a billion movies and I know you're suffering from, multiple choice overload, right? And what I'm telling you is you can trust us with your 90 minutes that you're going to be delivered a quality piece of content if you're our kind of person. If you're a nerd the way we're nerds. Because there's just so much stuff, dude. And yeah, that free box Danny's talking about, it has thousands of movies that I might want to watch and I don't really know. And like how do I choose and how do I decide? And then what happens if I do choose and then it sucks? Damn it. I had 1,000 other choices I could have made and I made the wrong one. And I think that's where a lot of people, get trapped in watching reruns of stuff that they love because like this isn't gonna let me down. I know that I'm gonna feel good when I watch this. So that's another barrier, I think, to independent filmmakers and content creators of any kind, where it's like, no, you can trust me. And that's why short form does so well, because like all I'm asking for is 8 to 15 seconds. If you don't like it, you didn't lose that much. I think that's another barrier to watching a full feature film now is not feeling let down. I'm happy to report I had somebody recently tell me, man, I just rewatched your film and it was even better the second time. Like all those jokes I got, that didn't land the first time, or maybe I didn't have the context. Like it's a very rewatchable film. So I think that's another thing that as indie filmmakers we need to strive to do is put enough Easter eggs in there that on a second and third viewing it's still rewarding, it gets funnier and more insightful.
Yeah, that's how cult classic move. That's how a movie becomes a cult classic. But you brought up an interesting point, Phil. That can I call you Phil? Okay.
For
Uh,
sure.
yeah. Is that you also have to think about there has to be some clips in your movies that are just for the social media. I see a lot of it. A lot of indie people are doing that just for the memes, just for the jokes, and I don't know how to do that.
Well, I mean, I think yeah, that makes it sound dirty. That makes it sound like that it doesn't fit within your film, or that it's somehow detracting from your film or the artistry of it. And I think you can do both. I think the kind of general rule of thumb I use when I'm writing is if I'm bored writing it, they're going to be bored reading it, and they're really going to be bored watching it. So if it's not fun to write, stop and reconsider what you're doing and go back and uh, you know, edit yourself there because it should be interesting. It should, the process of putting those words down on paper should be as exciting to you as reading it. So I think we always kind of set our sights on like 4 or 5 good set pieces in a film that are, really stand out moments that you can it used to be the like water cooler moments, the things that people are going to talk about when they get together after watching the movie. But I think that translates just as easily to memeable moments or, social media clips. It's just a really interesting out there part of your movie that still works within the overall plot and story and drives the action forward, but is something that also stands on its own and can be really interesting from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah, that term Danny used, set piece. That's something that you'll hear a lot of directors and writers talk about. And that's, every film has three or four or five, big scene. If you're thinking Dune, it's he's finally riding the worm. And to me, maybe the only consideration, the only things that are changing now is maybe we're going to make most of that happen in the center of the frame because we know that's going to get cut for social. And instead of it being this big sprawling thing, we know where we need to have a lot of the action take place because of the way that people consume the content. And if we can hook them on social, then maybe they'll commit to watching the full movie. But the idea of, you still need some big scenes that anchor your film that, that kind of, to me, makes it much more digestible. If you got a movie, if you're making an indie movie and two people are talking in a cafe the whole time, well, hopefully one of them has a seizure or something happened, right? That becomes that moment that is memeable. I don't think you have to set out to make a meme movie necessarily, but I think every film needs to be interesting. It needs to be engaging, and in today's content driven world, I know we tried to identify some of those on the front end as well, right? Like if you got a full movie script, it makes sense to be like, which one of these is going to be our marketing scene? What's going to clip down pretty well. And I'm sure those conversations are taking place at the studios and at much, on much bigger levels. And on the indie scene, we're still trying to figure it out too.
Yeah, and I think you can do a great scene with two people sitting at a cafe having a conversation. It just better be a really cool conversation that's really engaging and really interesting. I think I talk about this all the time. One of my favorite movies is Tremors. I don't know, are you familiar with that movie, Tremors? It's another big worm movie. It's up there with Dune. Tremors is a great movie. It's kind of a schlocky B movie. It's got Kevin Bacon in it. Reba McEntire's in it. It's like it's got some star power, but they were very young. It was before like Kevin Bacon was real big, and so like it's one of those films that like it has no fat on it. There's just everything moves forward. There's tons of action. All the characters are there for a reason. There's just not a lot of superfluous fluff, and that's I think really what I'm kind of thinking about when I talk about like memeable movies and action and being interesting to watch and to read and write at the same time is eliminate the fluff, eliminate all the filler, and get to the action, get to the part that's driving the story forward, because all the rest of it just kind of falls away and it's not going to keep people interested.
Okay, there's this one word that I hear a lot for a lot of indie. I'm roasting myself too, by the way. So a lot of indie people, indie scene is that sometimes we tend to get a little bit more pretentious.
I mean, yeah, I think that sure. But also like, man, I'm a big proponent of every movie's a miracle. The fact that any movie gets made to me is incredible. I've worked on so many movies that were so challenging and so difficult to get done. And yeah, man, I think the fact that anybody sets their mind to creating art is fantastic. And maybe they're not for me. Maybe a movie isn't something that I'm necessarily engaged with, but that doesn't mean it's bad. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it. It just means that it's not for me. And I think I don't want every movie to be for everyone. I think movies should be broken apart into different demographics, and certain people are going to love certain movies and hate others, and vice versa. And I think that that's all what makes it beautiful, and that's what makes filmmaking fun and interesting.
Yeah, I think pretentiousness is a stage that hopefully everybody grows through, right? Like we develop taste, and then anything that doesn't fit my taste is garbage or is trash. And I think it's really easy, especially as indie filmmakers, once you see a bunch of stuff, and you're like, oh man, anything that doesn't do this or that is garbage. And yeah, I hope, my experience anyway, is I grew through that to like, well, this is resonating with people for some reason. Clearly I'm missing something. And that happened for me with music. It's like, if you weren't listening to the underground hip hop that I was listening to in high school, then whatever you're listening to is trash. Well, whatever they're listening to seems to be making millions of people very happy. Who am I to say whether it's good or bad? And I think that the same thing applies to indie film. And like, yeah, it's important to have taste, but also to look for reasons why something might be working that I don't see, and exactly as Danny said, maybe it's just not for me. Doesn't make it bad, just means it's not for me, and that's okay. And I know our film is not for everybody. We've had some reviews that clearly they just didn't get it, and other reviews that are like, this is perfect and brilliant, and it's clear they're trying to say something but not taking themselves too seriously when they do it. And occasionally you're like, yes, this dude gets it, and everybody else is like, cool, man, it's just not for you, no big deal. You don't have to be a dick about it, right? That's probably the big thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think like I'm with you, Abby. Like I love campy movies. I love like so bad they're good movies. Troll 2 is fantastic. That's one of my favorites. I love like The Room is such a weird, fun movie to watch. I love that stuff. I'll watch that all day long. Those are comfort movies for me. I'll go back and watch those over and over again. And there's just something about that that's really cool to me because they're so earnest. It's just like you can't make a bad movie you can't make one that's so bad it's good. Like you can't set out to be like, we're just going to make this really campy movie and it's going to become this cult hit. Because I think there's an earnestness to those movies that you can't fake. They really put it all out there. They really tried hard and they tried to do something interesting and wild and they just fell short of it. And there's something really entertaining and beautiful in that in itself.
I think it's sincerity. Like
Yeah.
even if, and I obviously feel it. I'm not sure about you guys. I would love to have your opinion on it, but sincerity is that what's missing in the most of the product movies that you see a lot of times, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think yeah, I like, there certainly seems to be some films that are like cash grab films that are just like, hey, if we make this movie and we put these people in it and this is the premise, then we know we'll make some money on it. But at the same time, man, it employed a bunch of people and a bunch of people got to do their thing and put their creativity to work. And I think that's great.
It's such a crapshoot. Like, I'm sure that there are movies where people were treated well on set, had a blast, and the movie still didn't work, as they say in the industry, right? When something works or doesn't work. And then there are movies where I'm sure the director was rude to people and the movie just worked and it's brilliant. But, I like to look at it from a more cosmic perspective of like, treat people well, put out good vibes, and that will show up on screen. And that's what we went for. And so that sincerity piece, I mean, it's like a lot of times you can tell movies where people are just picking up a check, and who knows what was going on behind the scenes or why people checked out. And actors will tell you that sometimes, right? Or it's like, yeah, I did that one for a pool. That was just needed money. It's like, yeah, you could really tell that really showed up. That sincerity was lacking. So I think, Abby, you put your finger on it where like when people really care, you can usually tell and that shows up on the screen.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't have any questions. So any last comment, any parting words would be nice. And also, it was amazing to talk to you people. It was lovely, one of the most fun conversation I had. Um, I was not 100% because again, I said I literally woke up when you guys texted me. So,
You're out there living that party life, man.
no. I was part of a play. So I literally
Oh,
performed a
cool.
play yesterday
So
and
cool.
came back from and I was not sleeping at all. Like the whole week, I was like 3 hours or 4 hours of sleep. So the play ended at like 11 for us, and I came here and ate something and slept right away. So yeah, I didn't get enough sleep. So that's why I was just catching up.
I love that. Hey, yeah, for anybody out there that's watching, please give us a follow on Instagram or YouTube. We're everywhere at Clone Cops. We put out a ton of content, filmmaker related and otherwise. Please watch our movie on Tubi and or Amazon Prime for free if you want to rent it or buy it. It's on Xbox, it's on Apple TV, it's on Amazon, it's everywhere. Yeah, and then if you're inclined, leave us a review. That still helps a ton. So if you're on Letterboxd, IMDb, or Rotten Tomatoes, drop us some stars, leave us what you legitimately think, and we'd love to hear from you. Thanks.
Yeah, and I would add to that to say too, like, hey, we're real people that really care about this, and we're super engaged with our film and with people that watch it. So like when you make a comment on the Clone Cops accounts, Phil is the one answering those. So like, yeah, and he will get back to you. So like if you have questions, if you're out there and you're wondering how do I get to make a movie, how do I get to do this? Like we love to be a resource for that sort of thing. We're super jazzed to talk about it and to offer our experiences and maybe help guide people. So like, please reach out to us. We want to help.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, guys. It was a privilege to talk to you guys, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Thanks so much, Avi. Hey, get some rest, man. Congrats
Yeah,
on the play.
yeah, thanks. And cut. Okay.
Please, 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 I'm begging you. Please. I'm desperate. I don't know what to do. Please subscribe. Like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe for more content.
Subscribe to my channel.